It has been a chaotic weekend at the airports all across the country. Protesters have flocked to the terminals. They're protesting President Trump's latest executive order.
You may recall that executive order does a few things. First, it bans travel from 7 majority Muslim countries for 90 days. Second, it also suspends all refugee admissions for 100 days with case-by-case exceptions. And then it suspends entry of Syrian refugees indefinitely.
Now, locally, this executive order was met by 2 straight days of protest at Dulles International Airport. Evan Koslof is there. There was some confusion about permanent residents, too, green card holders. A lot going on here. Evan, take it away.
Right, and that part has actually now been cleared up. The White House told reporters that green card holders that are stranded outside of the U.S. will need to get a visa waiver to come back in. Meanwhile, none of this is sitting well with these protesters. This was one of many emotional moments last night at Dulles Airport. Countless families making their way past security, greeted by a crowd of supporters.
Very happy to be part of this country, and I'm very glad to have these people and these friendly neighbors here with us today, and I hope they continue to stand and show that there is people behind us.
The crowds were there to protest Trump's executive order, also to celebrate a legal victory by the ACLU, placing a temporary stay on the change until it can be brought up in court. State leaders were there, and of course they were vocal.
There are 3 things government can do. They can do things that are good, they can do things that are neutral, and they can do things that are bad. Right? You can negotiate with neutral, but you can't negotiate with bad. You have to fight bad.
I'm not an immigrant.
And while most in the crowd were there to protest, some came to show support, like this woman.
I don't want my 19-year-old daughter blown up at an airport, and she flew out of Miami 2 days after the Fort Lauderdale blew up.
This is not a reflection of American values.
Also there, flying last night, was Cornell Brooks, the national president of the NAACP. He offered his thoughts on the executive order.
This so-called extreme vetting is an extreme gutting of the Constitution, and so we're very concerned about that.
All right, so I do have a statement here from President Trump. I want to briefly read you a few parts. First off, he says, we're going to continue to show compassion to those fleeing oppression. We will do so while protecting our citizens and our borders. He then goes on to liken this to something that President Obama did back in 2011 when he actually banned visas for Iraqi refugees for 6 months. Lastly, I want to read you one last part. He says, this is not about religion. He says it's about terror and safety. Reporting here at Dulles, Evan Koslof, WUSA 9.